Today we're going to talk about Kliff Kingsbury, a 2020 quarterback, Gil Brandt, and Kyler Murray, and all that's coming up after the bumper.
What do you mean you don't subscribe to my son's YouTube channel?
Mama, no!
Just snap the damn ball, RJ.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. So it's OU related, college football related, sports related. We have a good time, and today we're going to talk about Gil Brandt, Kyler Murray, Kliff Kingsbury, and a 2020 quarterback. And I know we got a lot to cover and only about 7 to 10 minutes to cover it because some of y'all watch these at the train or the bus stop or while you're doing your machine work on your putters. What's up, Ford? Look, first, let's start with Gil Brandt, who on January 3rd tweeted this, which was basically, look, I would not be surprised if Kyler Murray returned to Oklahoma in 2019, and I would not be surprised if Kliff Kingsbury was a head coach in the NFL in 2019, to which I retweeted it going, Gil Brandt is about to set Sooner Twitter aflame, because I know this about Gil Brandt. The man is not in the business of just kind of throwing stuff against the wall to see if it sticks. His track record is ridiculous. When you think about Gil Brandt, if you don't know, think about Adam Schefter, think about Chris Mortensen, think about Adrian Wojnarowski. Think about insiders who know the stuff before the stuff gets done months in advance. These are the people for which I look to and I say, okay, that's kind of like gospel. But even so, in the case of a guy like Kyler Murray, you're leaving millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars on the table because you want to be a college football quarterback again, which seems ludicrous to me. The Kliff Kingsbury aspect, though, felt a little bit more real because there wasn't that much moving, right? The machinery works there. Even though this seems the Arizona Cardinals have hired a guy to be their head coach who has not coached in the NFL, who was a middling head coach at Texas Tech at best, and who runs a trendy sort of offense and has put a couple of quarterbacks in the league, depending on how you want to view it, in Baker Mayfield and Pat Mahomes, who are leading innovation at that level. And it seemed like, yeah, he would be a great quarterbacks coach, perhaps, for Arizona with Josh Rosen there and kind of implement some of the things that he does well. But to give him the controls just seemed a little far-fetched. And then it was New York and Arizona who were like, yo, we would actually like to talk to him about this job, which seemed fine until we know that Kliff Kingsbury was hired as the offensive coordinator at USC like a month ago. Hadn't even really moved to LA. And it seemed like, fine, whatever. They will interview the guy. It'll look good on his resume. It's a great recruiting tool to go out to Mater Dei or St. John Bosco or wherever to be like, look, the NFL is interested in me. Maybe you want to come play for me at the college level and I'll prepare you. You can see how this works out, except USC athletic director Lynn Swann did what no other athletic director has done because it just seems flat out stupid, and I made that video to say, no, you cannot interview my newly hired offensive coordinator, which is a bad look. One, because of USC. You can reload with this. You're the Trojans. This should not be the intimidating thing to you that it appears to be, even if it's not. So, rather than just kind of say, okay, they wouldn't let them talk to me, Kliff Kingsbury basically said, nah, you know what? I'll just pay my own buyout, and then I'll go take my chances because I'm not going to let you dictate who gets to interview me for a job that is a step above. So whether USC relented or Kliff Kingsbury did his buyout, and it makes sense that they relented because he was still on the athletic department website, even if he didn't have a headshot, and it seemed like a placeholder at the time. Wasn't a whole lot there, just that he was the offense coordinator and quarterbacks coach. And it felt like if you were just paying attention last night, he was out the door. And it seems that this afternoon, everybody was right to assume that he wants the Jets job. He ends up at Arizona. So now you got Clay Helton holding the bag. Clay Helton, who Lynn Swann basically had fire his entire staff and then say, reload it, dude. Reload the offensive coordinator position. You need somebody else, not T. Martin, who I thought was doing a pretty good job, by the way. Then you go get this guy who runs a system that Clay Helton doesn't run, and Clay Helton is an offensive guy, which means that Lynn Swann wanted to set this up to where Kliff Kingsbury would eventually be the USC head coach. Just a bad look all the way around, and this has repercussions. It's like I say, relationships matter, and I'm sure that 5-star wide receivers Kyle Ford and Brew McCoy committed and signed to USC with the thought that Kliff Kingsbury was going to shepherd them into the NFL, be there for 3 to 4 years to watch them grow up and become world beaters. And in the case of a couple of these guys, you're talking about, hey, they could have gone somewhere else where they're going to have a better opportunity to play, and they have a more established program where the coaching staff has been there forever. And Brew McCoy is being talked about as the next Juju Smith-Schuster out there because he is physical, because he is agile, because you saw him on the end of passes from Spencer Rattler. The dude can play. And now, with all of this, you got a 2020 quarterback commit in Bryce Young who picked USC over Oklahoma over the summer, who must be having his head spinning right now because he committed when Team Barton was the offensive coordinator, saw him blow it up, saw Chris Steele had committed and then decommitted. He's at Florida now. And now you're the 2020 dude who's basically holding him up, and you got to follow JT Daniels out there. I would be shocked if Bryce Young is not willing to listen to what Lincoln Riley has to say about perhaps flipping a commitment or at the very least decommitting just to see what else is out there, because it's a dumpster fire at USC, which is kind of ridiculous. I mean, you're SC. That you could fall this far puts you on par with Florida State for me right now. It's just a shambles, and I can't believe that any highly touted recruit feels comfortable about their decision. Matter of fact, if you just signed there in the 2019 class, especially as an offensive guy, you're mad. I mean, you got to basically try to get a waiver if you want to get out of this. And I'm sure that there are ways to do that, but it's just a bad look all the way around if you're associated with USC. Now, putting aside that Kliff Kingsbury probably ain't going to be the dude at the controls for Arizona Cardinals, and he's going to basically be a glorified offense coordinator with a NFL vet as his defense coordinator, more or less running the show. See Greg Williams, Freddie Kitchens, which I need to make that video. But now we got Gil Brandt, who is 1 for 2 on his predictions about 2019 as it relates to Kliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray. And as we continue to get closer to January 14th, which is the deadline for declaring early for the NFL draft, which is what Kyler would have to do, you have to wonder if he's right to believe that Kyler Murray wants to come back to Oklahoma and be quarterback. Now, this has more repercussions because it's not just that you could be a quarterback and probably play pro baseball over the spring, and not over the spring. You'd have to be enrolled, right? Because you got to go to school. So he'd be enrolled in the spring. He'd play pro baseball over the summer, come back in August, and then ostensibly have the job for his last year. That also has repercussions for a guy like Austin Kendall, who I'm sure thought that he was going to be the dude in 2019, or at the very least have the best opportunity to be the starting quarterback for Lincoln Riley. And he graduated. He is a grad transfer waiting to happen. And now you have that to contend with. So over the next 6 days, we're going to have a lot of shaking and moving go on, but this is getting to be fantastically awesome for me and what I do, and just being able to read about it and talk about it. And football and sports are stupid because people make some really interesting decisions about their lives all the time. Notably, Kliff Kingsbury decided to be a head coach at the Arizona level, gonna do his Steve Spurrier impersonation, and then he's gonna come back flying to college like Chip Kelly did and be great, I'm sure. But this is fascinating, and I'm sure that we haven't heard the end of this. But for now, I got to believe that Gil Brandt's on to something because he's 1 for 1, and we'll find out if he's 2 for 2 between now and Tuesday. All right, that's it for me. Doses.